saluto a tutti.
Ciao Juventini, welcome back to the AJC. Not our regular time, a day ahead of match day, but we know it's an early start for that one. Going to be 6 a.m. my time, but I'm still doing the watch along, and I'm jacked up for this one, a big one. Juve versus Lazio, first measuring stick match of the season. And man, this international break, what a nightmare. What a nightmare for news.
Oh my God. Can't we just
Yeah.
have nice things for like 5 minutes? We can't have nice things for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that if you're a Juventus fan and it's a new day, it's the end of the day. No one sued you. You weren't deducted points. No one investigating you. No one is caught for doping. All in all, it's a good day.
Man,
So that's the feeling I had throughout this international break. Any day without news is great, phenomenal.
yeah, it's just going to be fantastic to get back to talking about what actually matters the most, and that's just the action and the games and whatnot. I'm looking forward to it. We are going to talk a bit about some of our player performances through the international break. Obviously, we're going to tackle the two big topics that just seem to not want to disappear, and that's the Pogba scenario, the Bonucci scenario. We're not going to dive deep because it's been like tackled to death, whatnot, and you know, we've got Max Allegri's presser that just came out, essentially, that we'll discuss too. And some interesting things said there too. But overall, actually, I love the presser, to be honest. I love the presser from Max. So we're going to get into it all right now, have some fun and everything, and get ready for that matchup. First things first, the Paul Pogba situation.
First things first. Hang on. First things first. That is a nice shirt. Alex P brought that. What shirt is that you're wearing?
The training top. It is nice,
okay.
eh? I like it. I like it. And I like all three of our kits this season. Like, they're just on point.
We were talking about that
year.
in the group chat.
We're going to look great when we bring home 39. We're going to look great when we bring home that 39.
Love the confidence.
Well, by that time, we'll have the new kit for next season. So I'm waiting for that.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, Paul Pogba, you guys. So,
hey, you want to know something? It's just a little bit of testosterone. Like, what's the big deal here?
So the date has changed. September 20th was supposed to be the retest, and now it's pushed to October 5th, and that's just because of the expert that's been assigned to it isn't available till that point. Gives them
what the hell are we talking about? Where is he, and why is there no one else who can do it? Okay, just putting the whole Pogba thing aside.
It's Italy,
what the hell
man.
Are we
it's
talking
Italy.
About?
Come on, what do you expect?
Like this one what he has to take 3 weeks off, and they're like, okay, there's no one else who can do the work. What are we talking about? I heard that this morning, and I almost snapped the handle off my mug. I'm like, there's no one else. There's 70 million people in that country. No one else can do that test.
I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't matter. I don't think there's a way out for him, so it doesn't matter when it happens. 2 years, 4 years, doesn't really matter for him. That's why there's no rush.
Something's gonna go down there. Now let's just, for the sake of discussion, because on the daily update videos, this was coming up a bunch, and you know there is the possibility it could be a 4-month suspension or whatnot. You know, depending what happens. There's plea bargain options and whatnot based on the retest, and you've got some that say terminate now, which I would say no to if we don't get just cause just yet.
Pump the brakes.
4-month suspension. Okay, let's say it comes out at 4 months. Do you terminate? Because some say I wouldn't terminate if it's 4 months.
4 months or 4 years?
4 months. Let's say it comes down. It's going to be 4 months. 4 years is a definite termination. Let's be serious.
Okay, all right.
No doubt. But let's say he gets a 4-month suspension out of it. Some say I wouldn't terminate. I still would terminate.
Yeah, I mean, what?
No, I wouldn't terminate. 4 months?
For a 4-month suspension, you would still keep him on.
Yes.
Okay. So Anthony says
I would like to hear his side. It's all going to come out. We all understand this is all going to come out. He's going to explain what happened, what he took, what he ate, whatever the hell he did. He did screw up. If it's 4 months, for me, it's 100% keep. Now, reduced salary, I think they'd go into something like that. But 100% keep for me at just 4 months.
Really?
Well, they
Okay.
were planning salary talks even before that story came
Mm.
out. But I don't see it becoming 4 months because that means, I mean, it's either doping or it isn't. I don't see him getting a
Hmm.
shortened sentence. Like the shortest amount of
Agreed.
time I've heard was 2 years.
Hmm.
If it was involuntary and stuff. So if I don't see how it becomes 4 months.
So there's still going to be a case on this at the end. For me, it's a no-brainer. If you have just cause as Juventus, you can get out of this
Hmm.
thing. I think as shitty as it is for Paul, you kind of got to get out of this because we've been looking at nothing but issues on this return. It's a huge chunk of money that so far we've paid for a TikToker and a brand marketer, and we need footballers. For me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah, maybe it's not nice to say, but Juve got like an ex machina here to terminate that deal and not hold on for 2 more years of injuries and drama and stuff. And I was going to say, yes, since he came here, it's been nothing but bad stories. Not a lot of game time anyway. The what was it with his brother allegations that should happen soon
He's in
too.
court today.
Yeah, the witch doctor shit.
And that's another thing,
Mm.
like the
Yeah,
extortion, like just it's been a nightmare of a return. Like this may be the worst return ever.
yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah.
wanted to stop here and now because I still want to remember the Pogba that we would like to remember. The
Yeah.
one we had from 2012 to 2016, and right now, it's getting further and further away, and we will remember eventually all of this stuff if it continues for 2 more years.
Yeah. It's
So
it
before the Bonucci stuff started, and we were just sort of focusing on this, I was still sticking with Paul, saying, defending the fact that we need him on the field, right? I don't think there's any argument there, but I've slowly, like, you guys, especially Berto, you've grinded me down just to, like, it's probably best just to cut ties. Now, I think we all do, he would perform on the field, and that was what was giving us this case of whether he should stay or go. I really wish it turned the other way, that he could stay and play, but I
yeah.
just $10 million a
Yeah,
year is a lot of chicoria.
It's a
and
lot.
everything aside, he still hasn't proved that he can play more than 30 minutes a match since he came here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I still don't
I
think it
mean,
was a bad move at the time for free. It was a free transfer. I still think it was a good move.
At that time, I'm
Yes.
still gonna be on your side with that because again, if somebody was said this was gonna be the degree that it was as far as
Hmm.
like his health goes, as injuries and whatnot, I would have said absolutely not. And yeah, it just no. I don't think anybody would have ever pictured being this bad, regardless of what some Juventini out there that are trying to play the "I told you so" game. To guarantee you, it
There's no
wasn't to
way.
this level that anybody would
Hmm.
have expected. But hey, nonetheless, here we are. I think if Juve can get out, you absolutely have to get out. In terms of now, we start talking about Bonucci. The Bonucci thing, guys, again, something beat to death and whatnot. He comes out with his words yesterday. Your guys' quick thoughts on this whole Leo thing. I do like Max Allegri not really responding, and I said that's what we should do. When he was saying
Hmm.
what's Allegri going to say, and there was media headlines saying he is going to respond, whatnot. And I said don't respond whatsoever. It would be
Hmm.
the best thing to do. Just leave it alone. We keep stockpiling on something that is done at the end of the day, and it is what it is. If some of us would have liked it to go down a little better than the way it did, okay, sure,
Hmm.
but it didn't happen. It's over. It is what it is. But do you guys have anything to add to this whole Bonucci thing and just your thoughts in general?
Omer?
to add, no, because it's been beaten down to death from every possible angle by everyone. So no one knows what to believe anymore. It comes down to whether you're pro Bonucci or just against the club and everything they do the past couple of years. So not a whole lot to add. I mean, Allegri probably knows what he's talking about because if someone has to face the axe, more than players or managers who get their contracts cut short all the time. So that's Bonucci's situation. It happened to Allegri with Juve not long ago. So Yeah, Bonucci just needs to take it like a man. I'm not buying what he's saying, but maybe he is right. I know I have no idea at this point. We've heard everything from everyone.
Yeah, you get into the he said, and both sides have come out and stake their claim on what actually happened. Berto, you kept beating the group down with this one. He had a contract. He wasn't a free agent, so I would have had a little bit of a different stance if Bonucci came out and said, "I am I am suing for the money owed to me because of my contract. Don't give me this
Yeah.
image and all that stuff." I would have been not necessarily on his side, but a little bit more respect for the guy if he said, "No, I'm under contract. You can't just cut ties without paying me." Like, what's going on here? Now he's been transferred to another club. I get that, but if that were the case, I'd have a bit of a different stance. But to Omer's point, this thing's been beaten to death. Both sides of the walls are up, and we'll just see where it goes. Something to talk about on the next
Well,
international break, I guess.
well, look, Juntoli got handed that card of look.
He
This
did.
is the wage budget. This is what we have to deal with. He saw a gaping hole of money there with someone who said so himself. I have no problem being a fifth or sixth choice CB, and he obviously knows we don't need any of that with no European competition this season. So he knew what he was going for, but still, at his
At his
salary, keeping it
wages.
at his wages, which are more than most of managers in Serie A, that's ridiculous to keep him. And it's nothing new that clubs tells players they're no longer in the program and they should find a new club.
Yeah.
But
But were
everyone,
Buffon?
no,
So I was just
Buffon
gonna
was
say,
different.
was Buffon, Marquise, and Del Piero, were they at the end of their contracts?
Yeah, Del
Yeah,
Piero did not have a contract. Mandzukic did not have a contract. Marquisio did, but was getting injured all the time, and he just agreed he didn't want to be a burden.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Buffon told the club at the beginning of the season that this is going to be his last. So they bought
Right.
Chesney to be a second goalkeeper. But then he decided, and he said, I don't want to hurt the club. They did what they did because of what I told them. So I'll move to Paris Saint Germain.
Right.
For me, this thing with Bonucci, it has been and always has been for me just him and Max, a continuation of this rocky relationship. I honestly
Hmm.
think it's not the fact that he can't finish with us. I don't think it's like the playing thing. I think it's literally because of the guy who was the only guy left in power at Juventus last season
Only
being
one
the
there.
one to deliver that news to him that, hey, we're done with you, moving on to next season. I swear, like, for me, that's how I see it. And I think it could have gone differently, but his option was agreed upon with in at that point that management group, the team and everything, and it was fine. Everybody was reporting it. Romeo Gresti was reporting it. Bonucci's not going
Hmm.
anywhere. He's got one more year option. They've agreed. It's good to go. He'll carry on. Everybody was reporting that. So Bonucci wasn't lying when he was saying, no, we had an option. Like, I was taking up this team option for the next season. That was in my contract. Okay. Fast forward to when this, meeting with Max came in March or whatever. Max is the only guy there.
Only
And
one.
you've
Him and
been
the janitor,
battling with
Giovanni.
him.
That's it.
You've been battling with him on approach. Okay?
Hmm.
On approach of play or whatever. Like, that was an interesting little hint there that Bonucci said he was, you know, not happy with how the relationship went because of the stance he had to take for team and teammates and whatnot. And at the end of the day, we saw that kind of come through at the end of the season when guys who don't normally say anything, Chesney, Quadrado, whatnot, were coming out and talking about the play and the approach and stuff. I think it just added to their relationship. For me, this thing reeks of Max versus Bonucci. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, this place is not a fucking daycare, okay? It's a football club. If it were up to me, I would have cut them both loose and said, see you later. Thanks for your service. That's me.
And
But
terminating Allegri would cost a lot more money than terminating Bonucci.
absolutely. I'm just
Hmm.
talking in general, my thoughts in general on this whole shit, okay? And these
Oh,
guys
it's
have
not a
had a
daycare.
rocky road going back to fucking Cardiff and whatnot. Look, I would have just said, you know what? Thanks to both of you. See you later. This is Juve, not fucking tits and tots, fucking toddlers, little fucking lounge here. See you later.
Take
But
it easy. Take it easy.
here we go. It's done. Bonucci, don't go away mad, in the words of Motley Crue. Just go away. All right? So it's over. It's done with. I like Max Allegri in the press conference staying away with it, but he still threw a little dig there. In terms of personality and named like essentially everybody that left. Paredes, Di Maria, Bonucci, Quadrado. Okay.
Yeah, what a list.
Get your little shots in there, Max. It's all good. For me, again, I don't care because I support Juventus. Players, coaches, they will come and go. I need to see this club turn the corner and do what matters most, and that's win on the pitch. So if this is what we need to do to get there, I'm all for it. Let's go. And I think we can all agree it was time for Bonucci to go. Okay.
Oh yeah, that was my question. I mean, wasn't that what we were all thinking back in December, January? I mean, Bonucci needs to go. It has nothing to do with Allegri. Just he needs to go. And how often do players win their battles against the manager, and the manager is the one to go? It has to be like a collective thing inside the group or several. But if Bonucci picked this hill to die on, he should have known that he would be the one canned and not Allegri.
Yeah.
Because Allegri doesn't have a timeline, players do.
Yeah. And I will say this again, we all agree Bonucci had to go, changes had to be made and everything like that. As far as his actions now, this kind of shows you something that's always kind of been prevalent with Bonucci, and I just think he's, talk about tone deaf and whatnot, but when he made the comment about I'd like to return one day and embrace the fan, it's like, okay, you're suing the club, man. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You're
for
suing
charity.
the club.
For
charity. Get it, the charitable thing and whatnot. That's great, but you're doing all these actions, okay, and then you're expecting us to just stand by and be like, okay, yeah. So even if I think that he's got a point here or there that, yeah, you could feel screwed and disrespected, okay, you're still, there's going to be a reaction to your actions in turn of what you're doing. Just walk away, man. Just walk away. But
someone put on Twitter
I don't know what he's complaining about. I don't know what he's complaining about. I mean, he wanted to keep playing at the highest level. When Union Berlin finished, second or third in the Bundesliga last season, they are in the Champions League. We're not. I mean, it basically comes down to money for me. I don't see it any other way around.
Someone put on Twitter that Bonucci's
ego. Yeah, obviously.
It's ego. He feels disrespected. He thinks that he should have been. I fucking bet you anything. He thinks he should have been up on a Chiellini level farewell and whatnot, and that's just not going to be the case.
But he isn't. Yeah, he isn't.
That's just not going to be the case. And that's the bottom line. I think it's ego. It's ego. But here we go. Is what it is.
I was gonna say that someone put on Twitter that Bonucci's gonna make us hate a children's foundation for what he's doing.
Leo could do something like that.
Yeah, thanks, Leo, for making us hate a children's
foundation.
Spark
us to not want these kids to get support or whatnot. You know what Juve should do? Juve should make a donation to that.
Just make the donation in his name
and just be like, hey, here's a donation to the Sick Children's Hospital in Turin. Now, Locatelli had a great showing for the Azzurri against Ukraine. And obviously, we're going to talk about it. The haters were pretty silent there and whatnot, but then you get into the discussion. Well, obviously, he's got Barella on one side, Frattesi on another. These guys are making runs and whatnot, and he's playing foot on the throttle, always looking forward to progress the ball. Some fans say we just won't see that with Juventus and whatnot. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on why we can't. Because personally, I think we absolutely can. And it's not just personnel for the Azzurri. So how do you guys feel about, number one, he had a class performance. I think we can all agree. But can we replicate it? Or is it a personnel thing?
I do think it's a personnel thing because Frattesi and Barella are engines. They are running all game long, up and down, up and down. The formation, the 4-3-3, creates a lot of movement up front, mainly on the flanks. So there are more options for long passes, which Locatelli likes. That's what we mainly saw. That's what we're missing right now from him at Juve. Defensively, I thought he did the exact same job he does at Juve. And I don't think it was like this remarkable performance. I didn't, aside from a couple of long balls forward, which I would like him to do more, it was regular Locatelli. I don't think he's as bad as they make it out to be, and I don't think this performance was as good as they make it sound. Italy in general were good. The team played well and played to his abilities and to his character. So I hope he can continue to do that. It's less likely in a 3-5-2, in my opinion.
Yeah, to me it was like that was Locatelli last year. Maybe not 100% of what he's playing this year with Juventus, but that was basically him last year, right? But again, different setup. Again, I agree with all of Omer's points. We're playing a 3-5-2, doesn't really set up for those long balls for him to be had. But yeah, that was just a regular Locatelli performance for me.
I saw a way more confident Locatelli. He was his first look every time in that game, and this is the biggest difference I've noticed than what we get. His first look every time, his first read was forward. And if he didn't have it, obviously he would distribute laterally and whatnot, but he was looking and he was taking the shots. So I don't know, like that's the kind of level I need at Juve, because the one thing I have been putting against him over some of these past matches is when he does get those runs from his teammates. And this is where the personnel things come in. Barella is great at breaking the line, so was Fratesi and whatnot. So he had more opportunities to make these forward passes. Di Lorenzo was breaking up the flank, and he was rewarding him with great balls. So at Juve, we're not getting enough of the off the ball movement. You look at the Udinese game, and Locatelli looked very similar to what we saw yesterday. We saw flashes of it in the next two games, but there's been opportunities where those runs are there, and he doesn't pull the trigger. There was this confidence thing in him, and he was just on, and I need him switched on like that the rest of the way. And is there a reason why we can't see it? Absolutely not. And I expect it to be at that level for Locatelli all the time.
I don't think it's down to him. I mean, the way Juve play, the way the midfielders are instructed when to get into the area, it's only when the ball is on the sideline and they're getting ready for a cross, but they're not making those Marchisio Vidal runs into the area. Not Rabiot, and Miretti plays a lot closer and wants the ball to feet. Fagioli doesn't get into the area, so he naturally doesn't look for those passes at Juve most of the time. So when someone does do that movement, he doesn't notice it. I think Spalletti told him to look for those runs by Fratesi and Barella because they were getting into the area. They lived in the area more than Raspadori.
Yeah. Now, again, Fagioli did make some of those runs. That's one of the guy I clearly spot out on a couple games where he was doing that. He was breaking through when Vlahovic would take his players aside. But I agree with you overall. The off-the-ball movement outside of the Udinese game hasn't been what it was in that particular game, but you do have some different styles of play. I think that, to be honest, there's no reason we can't do that and see that Locatelli. With Miretti in there, we know what he becomes. He becomes the guy that breaks the lines, but all the balls are, again, to his feet, and he ends up controlling a lot. Locatelli, we might have to switch things up, get him to be a controller and start the off-the-ball movement the way we need to and have these other guys breaking the lines. He's fully capable. I don't agree with this thing that in the 3-5-2 we can't see it. I don't really agree with that.
No, it's not that we can't see. It's that the movement up front is not as much as when you play a 4-3-3 and you have two wingers. Because on the right, usually we have no one but either McKennie or Ware, who also have defensive duties. And on the left, there's always Chiesa, and maybe when Cambiaso plays now, we'll get to see a lot more of that. But when like Miretti, if Miretti makes a run into the area, that clears the way for a pass, even to the flanks for the guy who plays there. And for Juve, he's not always there because he has to stay back.
Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing.
Some other parts that have to be added to it, but Locatelli was, keeping the haters silent anyways on that day. Hopefully he does it tomorrow. Big one coming up against Lazio. First measuring stick match. Max Allegri in the press conference. Again, I thought it was a great presser. Didn't really get too overboard onto any of the nonsense as far as the topics go. With Pogba, there's not really much he could say anyways, other than, it's a shame and whatnot, because as a player, we know his quality and everything. But yeah, kind of stayed away from the nonsense and just spoke about the team training well, and those that remained work well and are in good condition, Fagioli being one of them. And we'll talk about the starting lineup and everything. So Lazio obviously started off the season brutal with 2 losses, okay? Unexpected losses for them, but then a strong showing against Napoli and getting the job done, and that takes them coming into this game. As far as Juve go, obviously Udinese game was great kickoff. Little bit of a stall there with the draw, but then getting the job done again in our third game against Empoli. Expected 11 for Juventus. Right now, anyways, from Sky is Szczesny, Danilo, Bremer, Sandro, Weah, Fagioli, Locatelli, Rabiot, Cambiaso, Chiesa, and Vlahovic. Now, I don't expect that to be... I expect some changes, to be honest. I expect maybe 1, maybe 2. I don't know if Max is going to have some type of surprise for us in that lineup, but maybe 1 change. If that were the lineup, how do you guys feel?
Awful. I don't want Sandro facing Felipe Anderson.
I don't want Sandro out there either. But I don't know if I'd say awful because of it.
Awfuls.
Well, if it cost us 1 goal that cost us the game, it's awful. Period.
I mean, obviously, naturally, I would like to see Gatti continue on. I have no problems with Danilo as left center back. Everybody knows that. Across the middle, Weah's got to start impacting games a little more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's been hot and cold. Like our game was mainly focused on the left because Chiesa was drifting there, so the right side was kind of dead a bit in all the games we played. So I would like to see more from him, and I want to see us playing a bit more direct and towards the right side, and him making more runs and overlapping and stuff. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe he came back from the US, so it was rumored both him and McKennie will arrive late and probably won't start. We heard some rumors about Cambiaso playing on the right in that match and Kostic playing on the left. Well, we'll see how that works out. But yeah, Juve needs to divide the game a bit more. I don't think he's getting enough balls into the right side.
Yeah, Cambiaso was training on the right side too, so yeah, I would expect him to probably play on the right. The Americans had just headed back to Contanasa yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see these guys after their international stints. Guys are still gonna play, so regardless if they came back late or not, we're still gonna need some of these guys in that lineup. Sandro's probably the only change I would make, but the midfield question did come up in terms of Fagioli or Miretti, and I said Miretti obviously went to U21s, scored a goal, and as far as those two midfielders, pretty split when I asked the question on one of the social media vids yesterday on who you would start between Fagioli and Miretti. I was a little bit surprised. There were still a fairly close split. The edge obviously going to Fagioli. I'm going to ask you guys, based on what we've seen so far, because the argument is that Miretti has done more and given more, and then obviously people want to get into defending Fagioli because he's coming back from injury. It has nothing to do with it. Just based on what we've seen so far out of the two, who would you rather have in that lineup for Lazio?
Miretti.
Yeah, I would start Miretti just based on game fitness. Him ready to go. Fagioli, you don't know how many minutes he has in his legs. It's easier to, gas out Miretti for 60 minutes, 65, and then bring Fagioli in. It also depends on what Max's game plan is, right? We've talked about this enough with these two guys. They're not necessarily the same. They're not even the same player, right? And they're going to be deployed for different game plans. So if Max wants to keep on his foot on the gas he's had the past couple games, Miretti is the guy who fits that game plan better than Fagioli. Not to say he's a better player or worse player. Fagioli's not good. I'm just saying. For that game plan, Miretti seems to fit it better. And he's just more game fit.
Yeah,
It's his momentum seems better right now than Fagioli's.
Mm-hmm.
I said it a couple of matches ago. I don't think that the mix-up between Locatelli, Rabiot, and Fagioli is a good one. But it depends on Lazio are like a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get from them. I assume they're not going to be defensive, so we will be playing the counter. And in that region, in that expertise, I think Miretti is a bit better in driving forward attacks than Fagioli, and That's why I would take him. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. It's not like Ant said. It's not like because this guy is better or not. It's just based on what we've seen this season so far, Miretti is balling this season.
Yeah, if we think back to last season, it started off the exact same way last season. Miretti was coming out of the gate ahead of Fagioli and looked the better of the two for a period until Fagioli finally broke in, and then he ran away with it and formed our best midfield last season, Rabiot, Locatelli, Fagioli.
He did, yeah.
No knock to Fagioli, but I'm not necessarily... I don't know about the Miretti one. The fact that he got a goal on international duty, I think we see some more production in the end product once he gets that monkey off his back in Serie A. But I don't know. Against Lazio, I'm starting to think about this, and maybe, just maybe, I go Fagioli, just in terms of how he is on the ball, helping us from the back. I expect them to press us quite a bit, and maybe Miretti's breaking the lines and getting ahead early won't really pay dividends through this one. So maybe Fagioli. It's an interesting one, but
My
honestly,
fear is that we're going to see McKennie there, based on Max's presser. It's been pushed and pushed. This McKennie
Did
narrative.
both the Americans play midweek? Do we know?
McKennie for sure. I don't know if we have played.
Okay, here's before we get into the predictions, here's one for you. Just crystal ball. Match week 31. Who is Fagioli going to be? I think one of these two guys is going to be the mainstay in the midfield. 20 games from now, who do you think is going to be that guy? Is it going to be Fagioli or Miretti in there? I think long term, Fagioli is going to be the player that's going to be in there.
it'll be Fagioli.
I believe so too.
Yeah. I would bank on that. You know what also has come up? We haven't really talked about, and I was waiting for Anthony to bring it up when we talked about the Pogba thing, but Jesus Christ, I might lose
Drugs?
that bet. I might lose that bet because with this whole Pogba scenario, DeCilio's coming back from injury, and he's probably going to end up with more minutes played than Paul
My greatest
Pogba.
my greatest prediction of all time.
How?
MDS will play more minutes than Pogba this season. What does he have to beat? 30 minutes?
So I tagged
42,
Anthony.
42 or something, 42 to 45. But
That was the first thing I thought about when I saw the video of the Shido training, and I immediately tagged Ant and told him, but it wouldn't redeem you from that horrible Ronaldo prediction.
Okay.
So
You got. Okay, you want to know something? We don't got time for this, but you got to stop bringing that up.
I will never.
He
stop
scored
bringing it up.
100 goals in 3 years.
Hey, if I'm going in the mud,
Oh, it's not
everyone's
because of
jumping
that.
into. So
Me
I'm
and Bert
on
are on the
this one,
same
though.
train.
Paul,
It was
Paul, you
scripted,
killed me.
man.
You killed me, Paul. Now, back to it. Yeah, long term, Fagioli will be there too.
think
But
so.
Miretti brings a lot, and I think it can't be overlooked. To be honest,
he starts bagging
the way
goals,
he breaks the lines.
If he starts bagging some goals here,
I know, and I want Fagioli to do that and not just drift away to the flank, which drives me absolutely nuts when we see him in there offensively. Like, there's absolutely no reason he can't break lines like that and get more involved on the ball.
Unpopular opinion, and Alex P probably is not going to like it. I'm hoping that by that time, our starting midfield would be Lucatelli, Fagioli, Miretti. on match day 32.
I don't see it. I don't see
it. I'm just hoping
Yeah.
that that's what we'll see.
Only injuries would.
Rabiot's getting knocked around for his performances and whatnot, but honestly, I think like the game and what we've done has kind of dictated it, and I have no problems with what he's done. Like, yeah, he hasn't, been lighting it up per se or whatnot, but he's done his job based on what those games have called upon and how they played out. And again, when we talk about Moretti being in there, the majority of the start of the season, the 2 out of 3 matches to go, that changes the dynamic, and Locatelli and Rabiot end up kind of being those stay-at-home guys that clean everything up. I've had no problems with Rabiot's performance. Have you guys?
Yeah, Lou's got to take it easy.
This is not bringing Lou into the equation, because
I'm bringing Lou into it.
We know if Rabiot bagged a Hattie, it would still be a 0-0 game for Lou. So, but have you guys had any issues with Rabiot's play?
No, none whatsoever. Still early. Only 4 games in.
No, he wasn't shining dominating the game, but he wasn't bad. I mean, he did his job relatively quietly.
Exactly.
Rabiot wasn't dominating at this point last year. Well, okay, hang on. Dominating is a strong word.
Okay,
yeah,
but he ramped up. He ramped up as the first half of the season went on. Right, by the time Christmas came around, he was in contention for our best player at that point. So
well, another point is maybe we'll get to see more of Nicolucci this season. Maybe even this game, because of all the Pogba thing.
Nicolas Caviglia is an interesting one, and I think still, as it stands, he'd be my pick to kind of offer Locatelli a little bit of reprieve here and there when he needs it. Okay, but that's what I would do. But just me. Lazio expected to come out with Sepe Moric, Casale, Romagnoli, Isaj, Kamada, Guendouzi, Luis Alberto. That's going to be a guy we'll have to really keep tabs on. He's going to be pulling all the strings for them. Then, of course, Anderson, Zaccagni with Ciro Immobile up top. And because it's not the Azzurri, he could probably be a little bit dangerous in this one. But honestly, for us... don't create too many issues. Make sure you get Luis Alberto under wraps there. He's going to be looking to pull strings for them on the outsides. Just be aware. But I think we'll be able to push back quite nicely against our 4-3-3.
Wait a minute. Isn't future Hall of Famer Rovella playing? What's going on here? He's not playing?
Hey, easy.
I
tell you what, I'd love to have him around now with the Pogba thing that's gone on. But, hey. Right back at you there, Ant. Now, the two teams, Lazio and Juve, have a long-standing row of matches. 190 times they have met across competition since 1929. Juventus leads the win category. How many victories? We haven't done trivia in a while. Let's have some fun here. How many victories? Across 190 matches.
94 victories.
Okay, I'll go with 107 for you.
All right. Michael Ross. Oh, we haven't seen this man in a while. Great to have you in here. 100. Anthony coming in here with 85. All right. We'll give some time, a little more guesses. 94 coming in from Ant. 105.
107.
107 from Omer. It is 99. 99 victories. All right.
Price is Right rules. That's me.
Price is Right rules. Give the point to Anthony, all right? Lazio obviously winning 2-1 at home in our last meeting in April, all right? Their first win in 8 games. And the fixture, that one, we remember that one. Juve unbeaten in 6 home meetings against Lazio cross comps, losing once since 2009. like that one going in there to tomorrow, okay? So home matches dating back to 2009. Juve unbeaten in 6 of them. Lazio have suffered more defeats in Serie A against Juventus than any other team. Juve scoring at least twice in 9 of their last 11 home meetings against Lazio, who have failed to score 6 times in those matches, all right? So, before we hit some Storm the Barn questions and everything, you guys know the drill around here. We're going to get the prediction challenge going, and we got to have our final score and a couple tiebreakers.
Do you want the referee stats?
I want the referee stats. I'm going to bust out the odds, okay? The betting odds and everything. You hit us with the ref stats here.
Okay, so the referee is Fabio Maresca. He is a well-known referee in Serie A. He's done 114 Serie A matches. Our games that he has refereed, he did the 1-0 loss to Roma last year, red card in that game. I think we got a red card in that game. The 1-0 win against Lazio in the Coppa Italia in February. He was referee to that one. And he also did the 1-0 loss to Monza last September, giving Di Maria that straight red card in that game. So he averages 5.5 yellows per game. In the 114 matches, he's dished out 44 reds. Pretty low, you know. And in those 114 matches, only 30 PKs. That seems like a low number. 30 seems kind of low. 20-something percent. So, anyways.
Not a strict referee.
Yeah, lets him play. Lets him play. Other than if you elbow an opponent in the sternum, that's a direct red card. Other than that.
It should be.
You should be able to hide an elbow a little bit better. But anyways.
Yeah.
Especially in men's league play, yes, but not.
If you're going all out, just punch him. I mean, why have that hidden? You are getting a red card. You know that with VAR. Just go and punch him.
I had a coach tell me as a youth player, if you're going to draw a straight red card, at least draw blood. If you're not drawing blood, what's the point of even drawing a red card? Right? It's like, yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get a red, you got to make it count. I'm expecting a Montero high boot studs to the freaking gullet.
Leave marks. Leave marks if you're gonna get a straight red. Right?
Leave marks, baby. Leave marks.
Yeah.
Now,
all right. Hit us with the odds.
The odds.
I got some good ones.
Minus 110 to Juventus, plus 240 for a draw, plus 300 to Lazio. Okay.
Couldn't figure out why Lazio was such an underdog until you gave me those stats. I was like, why are they plus 300? Like, that seems, but okay.
Yeah, especially at home. And something we got to talk about, of course, that everybody's excited for. I saw some mention to it there. The Ultras will be in effect tomorrow, all right? So they're
without the flags? Yeah, what's going on?
And that's what I was going to talk to. The same parameters stand. They're not going to be able to have the banners and everything. Like to my knowledge, none of that has changed. Okay, this is not like an official Juve has welcomed them back or whatnot. You got to keep in mind that the majority have still been at these home games. When we were talking through certain shows about intimidation to other fans in remaining silent and little signs that said, hey, silencio, it was them because they were obviously trying to make their point in keeping it like a theater and whatnot, which I thought was complete nonsense. So tomorrow, yeah, let's see what happens. But they're back, and they said that they will be back in the Curva. But again, nothing official. Banners, drums, etc. still not permitted from everything I gather. It is literally them setting up and establishing a show, a spectacle outside the stadium at 1200 hours, and they will be carrying it in to the Curva. This is a good start because... Two wrongs don't make a right. Somebody has to give at some point for the greater good here. And ultimately, at the end of the day, whether Ultras, obviously there's pros and cons to everything. They might have some bad cookies in the mix, in the batch, so to speak. But ultimately, we can't have our home matches feel like away matches. So this is a big positive in the first measuring stick match of the season. So I look forward to a good, strong atmosphere at the stadium. All right. So that can't be understated
Lucci's
as well.
don't make it right. That's
when
right.
factoring in our predictions. Okay. So now we'll get to Jeremiah coming in, wasting no time. 3-1. Weah, Rabiot, Fagioli, 15 attempts, 6 on target. Man of the match being Adrian Rabiot. Michael Razzo coming in here 2-0. Chiesa with the brace. 5 yellows. Juve to hit 2. Woodworks. All right. And 3 times we hear the commentators talk about the Pogba situation, and 1 time they'll talk about Bonucci. Forza Juve. I love the little off-the-cuff predictions Razzo used to always throw out there. Love it. Now, Anth, kick us off with yours. What's your parlay for this one?
These are all parlays. All my bets are parlays. Buckle up. All right. So the score lines are actually pretty good. I'm not going to take them, but the Lazio win score lines are unbelievable. I'm just saying. But we're not going to take those. We are not taking those because I'm going to go with 2-1 Juventus at plus 750. I'm going to circle that one right now. This one's a little bit different. I'm going to take a parlay with Dusan and Immobile both to score. Still Juventus to win, right? Come on. At plus 600 for those 2 guys to score. I think that's a good one. So still 2-1 Juve, Dusan, Chiro to score. Side note, Dusan and Chiesa both to score, plus 490. That's not a bad one. I'm also going to go with a Cambiaso assist at plus 400 all by itself. Nice. I like that one. This one, I really like this one. These ones, I don't know who came up with these. Great. Fouls in both halves of the game.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Locatelli at plus 100 and Rabiot at plus 125 to commit a foul in both. Oh, no, sorry. That's the first. That's just 2 or more fouls. Is Locatelli going to commit 2 fouls? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 100. Book that one. And then fouls in both halves, I'm going with Locatelli again at plus 220.
That's just an easy one. Matt.
Okay, so that was a lot of rambling about stats and stuff. I'll be more direct.
Yeah. I got to pay for my daughter's college fund somehow here. What are we talking about?
Yeah, through bets.
Yep.
Go to the casino. You'll have your answers sooner. So, I think it will end up 3-1 for Juve. I think by halftime it will be 2-1. Then will be a grind and a late goal when Lazio push up by Milik. The first 2 goals will be Chiesa and Rabiot. No, Dusan and Rabiot. Let's go with an easy prediction. Yellow for Locatelli. And
Milik is plus 165 anytime goal scorer.
You're welcome to put a bet on that.
Yeah.
You're welcome to trust your daughter's future on that. And what else? Let's go with 10 shots, 5 on target for Juve.
All right. So
Bremer's at plus 650. Danilo's at plus 700.
I was battling on the 2-1 or 3-1, but I am going to go 3-1 for Juventus. I'm going to say it's 1-1 at the half, and we get 2 second half goals. 2 second half goals for Juve, 1-1 at the half. We pull through in the second half. 1 goal will be off a set piece. We're going to get a set piece goal against Lazio. I'm going to say we get 2 from Dusan in this one. Dusan to get a brace. Those will kind of be my tiebreakers there, all right? So there you go. We're going to go with that.
Jeremiah. Jesus.
Now.
No, I mean, I know that I look like Bonucci. I even have a similar photo with the beard shaver.
Dude, you've got Chiellini a bunch too. There's...
Yeah, depends on the day.
Yeah, you got Bonucci, you got Chiellini and whatnot. I
didn't comb my hair. Yeah, I
Anthony
didn't
has
comb my
gotten
hair today.
Khedira, which is fantastic. I love it.
Oh, discount Kadira.
Sammy.
I
Sammy.
have gotten it. I have gotten it.
The Khedira is amazing. Oh man, I can't remember who bust that out, but I think the show had to stop for a second because we were just dying. Oh man, the Khedira was great. Now we're gonna have some fun before we hit Storm the Barn. I see one in there from Jeremiah, and everybody, now's the time. Get your Storm the Barn questions in, all right, and we'll have some fun with them. But we got to play some association type style game just with the whole Bonucci thing that's gone on. It makes me think of like certain players. We've got obviously kits we were talking about and first player that you think of when you see a certain kit and whatnot. But we're going to just rattle off some names. And I just want to know the first thing that comes to mind when you hear this name. All right? And we'll go with players. First one, Matri. What's the first thing that comes to your mind with Matri?
Overrated.
Federica Nargi.
Can it be? It could be a moment. It could be a goal too. But you say overrated for Matri.
Yeah.
Okay, I said Federica Nargi. That was his wife. I believe she still is. She was Miss Italy. Beautiful woman, absolutely amazing. I'm sorry that I couldn't get.
We can see where this game's gonna go already.
Yeah, I can see where this one's gonna go with Omer.
No, there's not a whole lot of memories from Matri, so that's the one.
That is absolutely hilarious. Oh my god!
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Look at her asshole here. Easy, buddy. Easy. All right, we're gonna move it on to Mirko Vucinic.
Oh, only one moment comes to mind: taking off his pants.
Definitely.
Tidy whities. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but let's go with a bit more of a football one. His goal against Milan in the 2011-12 season, just out of the area, and just shot it, not running from the spot straight into the top corner, won us the game in extra time. That was a phenomenal goal, and I remember it very vividly. I was psyched when he scored that.
Yeah. Edgar Davids.
Yellow card.
Oh shit!
Red card.
He took mine.
Man, red for me.
That was it.
Pitbull.
Red for me is Montero.
No, yellow card. Yellow.
Yellow.
He had one red card against Barcelona where Nedved finally equalized, and then Zalaeta scored back in 2003. I was sure going to miss that game, but because of David's red card.
Yeah. Mario Mandzukic.
Oh, there's a lot from him.
Legend.
I'd say the 2 goals against Real Madrid playing at the Bernabeu.
I think he's on here, right?
It didn't end up the way we wanted, but that goal in that Champions League final will always be the first thing I think of with Mario. That goal was unfucking real and deserved to be with the winning team. It was crazy. So
it could be the best goal in Champions League final. If we would have won that game, people would consider it more.
That goal was unbelievable, and that ball didn't touch the ground for I think through 4 players. Unbelievable.
Bonucci,
4 passes.
Bonucci to Sandro, a long ball to Higuain, who chests it to Mandzukic, gives it one tap, and then the bicycle kick.
Now we're gonna go to the final one, and that's Carlos Tevez before we get to Storm the Barn question. So Tevez.
That long run goal. This was actual goal. That long run goal against
Sass?
Can't remember who that.
Parma.
Was it Parma?
Yeah. 7-0. I can
one.
even name all the scores, I believe.
Parma. Yeah, it was Parma.
Or it's either that or the baby soother.
The soother?
Yeah.
Dude, I like the standing still rocket. I'm pretty sure against Dortmund.
That's right.
Yeah.
Top cheese.
That was unreal. Standing still, just absolutely piped that thing. Short side corner, unreal goal. That one always stands out to me for Tevez, but what a beast he was for Juve.
I'll take the Milan goal. Outside the area, woodworking in. That was also a beautiful goal.
Oh,
Yeah.
off the crossbar. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Dan coming in here, guys, Samardzic in January to replace Pogba. What's interesting is that, Skira reports that nobody is going to come because Juve has essentially planned to not be banking on Pogba, something I said all Mercado we shouldn't be doing. Is banking on him. Don't treat him as one of your numbers in the midfield because you just don't know what's going to happen. But Skira says nobody's going to be coming in. And Romeo Agresti actually spoke on Samardzic saying that Juve hasn't even kicked the tires on
Wasn't
the
even
player.
any phone calls. Yeah,
which
nothing.
is strange to me. Just because of the deal Inter was going to get on this player. I would very much like to see Samardzic join Juventus, but I'm not expecting anything. Where do you guys stand? Do you guys think we're going to be bringing somebody in January or no?
I think we will, but I can't give a clear answer because it depends on first how much money we'll have left after Pogba leaves, what kind of leverage it gives us to sign new players, and how we're doing by that time of the season. Because if everything is ticking and no one is injured and you are winning and staying in top four, then I don't think they'll sign anyone. But if we're not doing well, I think they will look to bring someone.
0% chance of somebody coming in
Like
January.
James, I hope it's Thuram, but I would take Samardzic as well.
0% chance. We'll bring somebody up from the next gen to fill the holes. There's no way. We signed one guy this summer.
Yeah, they did say Nonge will be the one promoted because of Pogba.
Now, there's a potential of us signing someone to come in June. That I wouldn't completely write off. But someone physically coming into the building in January, 0% chance.
I don't know if it's zero. I think.
Okay, sorry, 2%.
So, as it stands
Telling me
with
there's
the
a chance.
As it stands with the Pogba scenario, okay, you've got right now he's making bare minimum, contractual minimum. The salary has been halted. If it were to be halted from here on out for the rest of the year, Juve stands to save about 6 to 7 mil. Okay,
6.3 I heard. Yeah.
Then you'll get the rest of the wages and bonuses that were set to be paid over the next following 2 years, whatnot. If I'm looking at this, you got some money to play with. We saved a ton. We still have work to do. This is why I say if you can cut him loose with just cause, you do it. Keep picking away. If you're going to bring a player in, it's got to be the right deal. That's why a guy like Samardzic would make sense, because if it was that loan to purchase at that cheap purchase price, that'd be a good piece of business. I'm not going to say that we're not going to bring anybody in. I think that we could potentially bring somebody in, but it would have to be still not a big splash. That's why, guys that are going to be more money, like a Thuram, whatnot, I don't think it's going to go down. I can't see it.
Yeah.
I would see a loan purchase thing potentially, but I'm more to the side that somebody won't be coming. I'm more on the side somebody who's not probably coming.
I got to roll out before they storm the barn, though.
Yeah. All right.
Just a quick note on that. Udinese have 34 players in the roster, I believe, 34, 35. That's a lot. I think they will be looking to offload in January. And Samardzic is rumored to leave anyway. He almost left this summer. So if you have a chance, instead of waiting for a bidding war in June, then I take that chance.
Yeah. But would Udinese let him go in January? That's the thing for me.
But yeah,
I can't see it. But I will answer one before we go. If you want to start with this one, do you guys accept Bonucci as a Juve legend? He is a Hall of Famer in Juventus. He's in the Hall of Fame. He is a club Hall of Famer. Legend is it?
He's in the building regardless of the stupidity that's taken place right now.
He's a Hall of Fame.
He's in the building, but he's a tier below. Yeah,
I agree.
But he's in that building.
Great show, fellas. Yeah. My predictions are amazing. Anybody who wants to make some money, put money on my predictions for tomorrow.
There you go.
All right?
Thanks, Anth. We're going to keep it rolling.
Sounds good.
Take care, brother. And now I got to get my man Omer in here. Where did he disappear to?
No, I'm still here.
Yeah, I know. I got to get you in here on Ants Cam here. There we go. There we go. Still rocking it. So we got to get to one earlier from Jeremiah, and that's how much confidence do you guys have in both Cambiaso and Wea? Influential season for us? Question mark. I think so. I really do have faith in these lads. So talked about
I
it
do too.
earlier. Like Wea for me has to get find a way to get more involved when he's out there because right now, to I'll be quite honest, McKennie gets more involved when he's out there than Wea does. I need to see a little bit more involvement from Wea.
Yeah, I mean it's 3 games in, so I'll give him more time to prove what he's worth, and they don't have like a very high bar to surpass because we've been complaining about the fullback situation a lot, so the bar is not set very high. All they need to do is be consistent and provide the occasional goal or assist, and they should surpass everyone. I believe they will. I mean, I'm with Jeremiah on the same opinion. I think they will have an influential season, and I do have faith in them.
Yeah, I do have definitely have confidence in Cambiaso, and I have faith in him continuing to impose his game with us and having some strong showings. I really, really like just the way he plays, the way you could see his thought process always on the throttle in the final third, and just smart heads up play. So I really, really like Cambiaso. Wea's got tools we have not yet found a way to incorporate in our game. That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah, they're
Speed
also
kills.
both very young. We need to remember
Speed
that.
kills. He's got it, okay? And we've got to find a way to use it.
Yeah. And we forgot to mention Lazio has a game against Atletico Madrid on Thursday, I believe. So that will
Yeah.
be in their mind as well. Gives us an upper hand. And the fans at the stadium, I think we're coming in favorites, definitely.
Yeah. Jat, which, if any, Lazio player would you take in our starting lineup?
Oh, Luis Alberto. I think Kamada walks in easily. Felipe Anderson. And yeah, well, that's about it. I wouldn't take Casale, not Romagnoli. Yeah, those
I
are the
would leave
three.
it at Luis Alberto for me. That's a player I would happily take and put into the midfield. I think he's really really skilled. Got great vision. Knows how to pull the strings and can do so very very well. Sadi and him did not kick things off on the right foot, but it looks like Sari's kind of come around on him and everything, and he's a good solid player. That would be my pick. But happy with the guys we have, and hopefully tomorrow we shut down Luis Alberto. He was one of the players I named. We would have to obviously cut off for Lazio. If
Yeah,
you could, would you bring Conte right now? Absolutely not. No.
absolutely,
And I'll
yes.
tell you why. Because through the summer, there was a lot of rumor. He was there. He was at the stadium. He was there for the Milan game. He did have an interview. Tudor was interviewed twice. I would not, and the reason is because I'm done. I'm absolutely done with returns. Okay, Allegri's first 2 years back, Pogba scenario. Just I'm done. I am absolutely done with returns. The only returns I personally will accept now are in the office, but players returning wanting to be a part of the office or something like that. I'm done with 2.0s and whatnot. Morata and everything, even though Morata had a strong showing when he came back, but then talking about 3 times over, like, no, I'm just done. I am done. I have so much PTSD built up on returns from this Pogba thing now that I'm done with it.
I would take him. I would take Conte back. I still think he's one of the top managers in the world right now. He has immediate effects on team, and he's like a building block. I'm not banking on him to stay long anyway, but let's make everyone understand what Juve is first, and then let someone else take the reins and take the team forward. But our fundamentals, and even Bonucci alluded to it and said that this is not the Juve that he knew and stuff like that. Take it with a pinch of salt, but still, I do feel we were missing some of the fundamentals of Juve, and Conte might be the only guy who can return it immediately.
Yeah. Something, and we've got another storm the barn we'll get to and whatnot, but like, yeah, the Conte thing comes up, obviously has a huge split amongst fans and whatnot, but it's interesting. Like, the Bonucci thing, it makes me think about the Bonucci thing. Obviously, Conte going to Inter. He did try to return to Juventus. Juve left him hanging for a while, decided not to go that route, and then obviously he went to Inter. We all know his intentions and what his intentions were. Took a couple seasons, but he got the job done, and then ultimately left there, as he's got a short lifespan everywhere he goes. But it made me think, like, he went to Inter. I started thinking about Dybala too, that had the captain's armor. So this whole Bonucci thing is interesting to me because everybody brings up the Milan thing. And then you have obviously the issues that sparked from Cardiff in the halftime and everything that went down. Mandzukic spoke very openly about what happened, who was involved. And I don't blame Bonucci one bit. He walked up to Dani Alves, put his hand around his throat, and said he was going to break his legs because he was acting like an idiot at a halftime game that was 1-1 in the Champions League final. And Dani Alves said something extremely disrespectful to him that said, hey, we could lose this one, and I'll still have 3 or whatever. You'll have none. And Mandzukic was like, yeah, I don't blame Bonucci. Like, you don't say something like that. He's like, I've won a Champions League final. I would never think about that. Why are you talking about us losing this game? And I give massive points to Bonucci. Obviously, Allegri came in. He took both of them and didn't care who started or whatever and fucking held it against him. Bonucci and Allegri were broken since then. He went to Milan. To me, him leaving in that scenario is not even at the same level. And this is why I say this whole scenario and everything is more to do with how people feel emotionally with the players involved, because to me what Paulo Dybala did was a million times worse than Bonucci heading to Milan, and after that scenario, after what went down after falling out with the coach. You're wearing our armband and you are going to Inter to negotiate and using that against us, the club that you supposedly love. That, for me, what he did was worse. To be honest, I was more pissed off about that from Dybala than I was when Bonucci left for Milan, even though that pissed me off as well. But I think that's, in my opinion, a worse move. Do you agree? Do you think that's worse than what Bonucci did? Just for shits and giggles, this combo.
Well, we've been over this in the green room a couple of times. No, I still, I mean, Dybala, he didn't do it eventually. Yeah, it's like a dick move, we'll call it, but he had an idiot of an agent. I don't know if he even had a hand in it. I guess it's all his agent's work to make you pay.
He's got to know you can't use Inter as a negotiating tactic team with us, if you, especially wearing your armband. But the fans love him, and the fans have always felt mixed about Bonucci, so he gets the pass. And Bonucci gets put to the torch for something that happened a while ago.
When Dybala left, I said it's time and we're done with the circus around him, dating back to this whole Inter thing. But Bonucci did leave eventually, so that's the main difference. But both are like horrible moves, horribly handled moves. Okay, players moved from Juve to Inter and to Milan in the past. I'm not angry about that. The way it's handled is different.
Yeah. It's just something that I find funny, and I always see situations like this, and it's totally how you personally feel emotionally about a player. But Dybala got a pass from a ton of Juventus. I was like, guys, that's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. To be wearing our armband, talk about love of the club. You had 4 years to fucking renew. You turned down top 25 money. You were arguably not in the top 25. And then, of all places, you go to Inter to try to negotiate a better deal with us. Unbelievable move. That pissed me off even more because I would understand if he had a complete falling out with coach and everything. But regardless, storm the barn. Would you permanently bench Sandro and start Gatti?
3, 2, 1. Yes.
Yes. I just Sandro should be the rotational piece. He should by no means be one of our go-tos. That's me. I don't want to hear about left side, right side, all this shit. No.
Yeah, it's exactly why people still have it in for Allegri. It's those type of stubbornness. Keep playing this guy over the guys who have a long contract and are young and are up and coming. Keep giving McKennie chances over Jolie or Moretti or whoever. It's those little moments for Allegri that fans hate.
Yeah.
That persistence of stuff that he knows rather than trying something new that we all obviously see is better.
Yeah, it's just, and again, it's been a short start to the season and it's already cost us in a match and cost us a goal and whatnot. And it's just like, let's stay away from that. Like,
what's to be gained by playing Sandro right now?
Like, there is literally nothing. And again, the defense of him being left-footed and playing at the left center back. Danilo as a left center back, I will play there every single damn day and twice on Sunday if the alternative is Sandro. Absolutely, I'm going to take Danilo.
Yeah, no
Like,
question.
all the time. And the fact that it gets Gatti in there, and this is the exact season you want Gatti to be chewing up minutes, and we need to find out exactly what is there and start grooming him. Like, we need to know what's there. And I hate when we aren't asking enough of the questions to find out. And contingency planning is something with Juventus that it's just like hanging on. And we felt like this for a while. Max Allegri was involved previously. Obviously, he didn't have the power he did over some of the years with Mercado and whatnot. And I think that power's kind of gone now with Giuntoli coming in. Giuntoli's going to take a couple of years to really get his influence showing up here and whatnot. But this lineup thing, you're absolutely right. It's things like this that are frustrating to see guys continuously getting rewarded with minutes when they haven't necessarily been earned. And that's what was driving me crazy. And we can flash back to last season. We saw it with McKennie and Fagioli. Until finally it took McKennie being out for some games where Fagioli can get in there. And then you never look back and it's like, we've been calling for that. Like, you can see McKennie's shortcomings and you have the answer. Why? Why not use it? So again, we will see what happens. But right now, Sandro's on the projected list. We'll see what happens. Jeremiah, is Pogba 2.0 our worst signing with high expectations in recent history? I said I'm trying to think of a worse return. I can't think of a worse signing it on such high expectations and whatnot. Like,
Yeah, it ticks every box. I mean, I can look back at bad transfers, but eventually none of them ticks all boxes. For Pogba, it's the money, it's the injuries, the amount of minutes he played, it's the whole circus behind the scenes. It's got the fans divided.
yeah.
Over that, like we needed more reasons to be divided. So yeah, it ticks all boxes. The latest one would probably be Ramsey before Pogba. Also, mainly money wise and injury wise. If we're dating further back, we had some bad signings even in our prime years, like Lucio and stuff like that.
I didn't have the high expectations with Ramsey though. Like, I liked the signing at the time, but I wasn't like, okay, Pogba.
But
I
with
know what he
his
can do
record,
when he's on the pitch, so I had much higher
yeah,
expectations.
yeah, weird one.
Max 2.0, the new Tinkerman. There was never 2 consecutive
Okay,
matches in which the same 11 players started.
okay. After that, I want to go back to the previous question and to show some stats about signings and what Paratici did. But to that
Yeah,
question, so it's Max 2.0 the new Tinkerman. Yeah, it's not even Max 2.0. Even his last season, in his previous stint, he had 38 different lineups in 38 different games in the season, and just not the same. He started doing that back then, where he had a stacked squad, and he's just continuing to do. Maybe we'll see a bit more of that now that we don't have European games, but it's not new. It's been going on since 2017-18.
yeah. Artur coming up as a bats.
Yeah,
Again,
Arthur is a
I didn't
really
have
bad
the
one.
expectations like that, but yeah, that was a brutal one.
Yeah.
Brutal one.
If
Now,
if
you
you
want to
want to
pull
get
up numbers
investigated,
on that Pogba one?
and not only Pogba one, just in general the way Juve did business. So that's a post by Morten Bering. And so the season of 2019-20 was Fabio Paratici's second season out of three, and wage expenses reached a historical high with a crazy 259 million in wages for Juve. And today, the wage expense is half of what it was 4 years ago. Paratici is long gone, and so are all the players who made up the top 10. Now, the top 10: Ronaldo, Higuain, Dybala, Pjanic, Costa, Mandzukic, Khedira, De Ligt, Bonucci, and Chan. So obviously, Bonucci is the last to leave, but the highest one was obviously Ronaldo with 57 million, Emre Chan with 9 million, a bit more than 9 million.
Yeah.
Those are the guys who compiled our roster, and that's how we went into COVID, basically in that season.
Yeah.
And so that's another. The way Juve did business with Paratici was horrendous. So most of the bad transfers and bad deals will probably go back to that time.
Yeah.
It was just no planning at all. Pogba was okay. We hoped it would be better, but it wasn't.
It was a lot of buying before you even sold or had alternatives. Like, there's no
Yeah,
reason Higuain has to be in there when you're spending that much on that forward list, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And Higuain kind of got dirty to be like, yeah, he got kind of got done dirty there with how it all played out and whatnot. But
yeah. We
man, it
got
is
stuck
what it
with
is.
him.
What's
We
that?
got stuck with him. We got stuck with him because we couldn't sell him. They wanted to after Ronaldo came, and so he
Yeah.
went to Milan and Chelsea, and then came back because just no one was willing to pay that salary.
And that's why it all comes back to that Ronaldo move was so instrumental in what was to come for Juventus, because honestly, I think all of us can look back and be like, yeah, that was definitely not the move that we should have done financially. Like, it again, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. We had a certain belief of where that team was, and that could have been the missing piece and whatnot. But again, just financially, it just made no sense with no solutions in line with Higuain, and again, the contingency planning. Who's going? How are we making room for this? It was just like, no, we're pulling the trigger. We're going with it. The one guy that did say he was against it, it doesn't make sense. Like, what are we doing? Got kicked out. And at the time, it was kind of like, okay, well, why wouldn't we do this? Like, Marotta's not happy about it. But in hindsight, the whole thing was a mess. You have Paratici circumnavigating his mentor, Marotta. Then we end up going with Paratici, and the rest is just an absolute shit show. But it all
Yeah,
started there. It all started there.
Paratici. Paratici was like a kid at Toys R Us with his dad's
Yeah,
credit card, just walking around and paying everyone what they want, agent fees, salaries, you name it. He was just paying all over with
awful.
no planning, no squad rebuilding, not replacing old guys. Just
Yeah,
had this Galacticos idea and wanted to sign more and more stars for Juve, and
yeah.
we're still paying for it today.
It was crazy. Crazy.
Let's make this the last one because I have to
Miran, is
bounce
it
too.
possible Bonucci was involved in poor performances last year against the coach? I would say that, I mean, I'll never rule anything out. As shitty as something that we're talking about is, like a player throwing games or something, or playing poorly to put something through or gain something that they want to change at the club, I'll never rule something like that out, as shitty as it is, right? I'm not saying he did it or whatnot, but anything is possible. And we've seen scandals, we've seen things like that. Do I believe that's what went down? No. No. I will say this, that everything that I was hearing and whatnot played to the Bonucci Max Allegri feud kind of last season. And in the summer, I even said it on daily update videos here on a couple lives. He was waiting and banking on the fact that Max Allegri was going to be removed as coach. And that's why he took the chance on staying and everything like that. It didn't happen. And there we are. Now the situation is where it's at. And he's gone, whatnot. But, I mean, honestly, it sucks. But it can happen. I don't think it did, though.
If I had to put money up front on which Juve player from the last generation would leave on bad terms, I'd put my money on Bonucci.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
why wouldn't you?
not a lot. It's not surprising.
No.
I can't say I'm surprised by the way it's being handled right now.
Yeah. My one thing was, and I'll stand behind it, should have brought it up while Anthony was on, because we kind of went at it in the team chat about it, but this situation could have been handled better by all involved. It's not just a Bonucci thing. Like, it could have been handled better all along. At the end of the day, we dished out a contract. It had an option on it, and it was a player's option, and he took that option. I get it if he's not in your plans anymore, and everybody wants to say, well, if we told him in February, it really doesn't matter. He's under a contract. Juve wanted to get out of this thing for nothing and force his retirement. And when you send a guy that he's got a rocky relationship with to send that message, and it's Max Allegri, how do you expect it to go down?
Oh, they were
Let's
picture for sure.
Put yourself in those shoes for a second, because I know that the last guy, if it were me, that I would want to come to tell me and say, hey, you should retire, would be somebody that I butt heads with all the time and have been for an entire season. I'd be like, excuse me?
Look,
and I'm contracted?
Look, I'm really not an ego-driven person. I think Bonucci could have been smarter, because he should have known that if they butt heads, he will be the one out the door, because it costs less money to terminate his contract, and Allegri has a longer contract than him. So the conclusion was inevitable.
But this is where the team continues to fuck up for me. It's fine if you want to do it, but then do it that way and pull the trigger. Pull the trigger and say, okay, yeah, no, we're just going to pay you out and whatever. But to put a guy through that nonsense is bullshit, in my opinion. And let's take Bonucci out of the equation, just to do it in general, to expect to just ice guys out or whatever and be like, no, we're icing you out, and we're not going to terminate you or whatever, but yeah, you're not part of the project or anything like that. It's like, excuse me? You haven't even done that with guys before. That's why it's totally just the two of them and the clash. But Juve should have just cleaned it up, done it fine, and just paid it. But if you don't want to pay it, then guess what? Too bad, so fucking sad, because you guys are the ones that dished out the contract.
Look, as far as I remember, Juve didn't go out to the press and said Bonucci is leaving. I mean, a lot of this story has been pumped by media.
It's all behind the scenes. Nobody really knows what went down.
Yeah, but the media poured a lot of gasoline into that fire, and Bonucci has his fair share of making it even worse and victimizing himself, making his wife post a long post about Juve, and then going immediately on the German TV or whatever, and giving the interview, then signaling out that Spalletti was respectful by calling him and telling him telling him he's not in his plans. I mean, he's shooting. He's doing enough to be hated all by himself without even Juve
But here's
uh,
but here's the
adding.
thing. You have a contract. You have a contract, okay? And it's there. The one thing we know, regardless of media, take the fucking media out of the equation. We still know for a fact he's got an option, took it, he's got a contract there. Max Allegri confirms that he was told he was not going to be a part of the project. Okay, that's fine. You still have this player contracted and you still didn't decide to just buy it out and end it. You guys decided to play this game and drag this on into what would become this fucking thing. Eventually, any player, no matter who it is, if you're not just cutting the cord and just saying, okay, no, it's done, you're not part of the project, here's your pay for the final year, we're seeing you out. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do it financially. So they kind of created this whole shitstorm. And that's why I say it's both parties that have completely fucked this.
I think it's both parties that have fucked this up. I also think that Bonucci could have handled it like a man and not start
1000% he
being
could have. But
and
what I'm
not
saying
being
is I can
childish
understand
about
the
it.
frustration, Omer.
The frustration, I understand it. Of course, it's frustrating. It happened to a lot of guys before him, not only at Juve. Real Madrid ditched Casillas and Raul and shipped off Ronaldo, and then they did the same to Karim Benzema. And a lot of teams do that, and all those players, most of them took it like men, kept it quiet, figured their stuff out with the club, and fucked off.
But they
Bonucci could have
also
had
did it. But they also did it like that and actually did it.
instantly.
Actually pulled trigger, not let it linger and be this storyline.
Yeah, so both parties have a blame in this, in making it a storyline for as long as it did. I believe some part of it is due to the legal reasons that Juve had, and they didn't know how much money they have. Because I believe that if they could end it early, pay him the money, and let him go, they would have. And eventually, if they did tell him earlier, and he could have looked for a club, he had a lot of time to look for a new club. He decided to try dragging it on till the end of the summer, finally going to Union Berlin. He has a blame in this as well for it being drugged out as long as it did, because they were up front with him before the summer started, before the Mercado even opened. He's to blame. They're to blame. It's a shitty
Absolutely.
situation.
Because, and again, going back to that, no matter when they told him, they could have told him, I don't care, January, February, March, April, doesn't matter. You got a contract, end it. Cut the cord. And I will respond to this question because I did still shit on the team for the contracts distributed. So yes, I will call management out when I believe they need to be. And I think, honestly, how can you have anything that's contractual binding and not understand that there's two parties involved? There has to be.
Yeah.
Unless Bonucci was signing his own contract and making his own contracts, there's two parties involved, everybody. Again, it's how we
Yeah.
concede things and
And
whatnot and notions. But
and we gotta
honestly,
remember, this is not the management that gave him the contract.
yes.
The ones that did that have all resigned in December.
Yes.
But
Now,
anyway, let's put it to bed.
it's done. I couldn't be happier that tomorrow we have Juve and Lazio and get back to the fucking action, everybody, okay? I'm jacked up for this one. This is the big measuring stick match for Juventus, the first measuring stick match of the season. You've got Ant coming in at 2-1 for Juventus, Omer 3-1. I said 3-1 as well. I've got the live watch along, okay? I'll be on live half an hour before kickoff. I hope to see you all there so we could share the live reactions together and hopefully celebrate the victory. The post-match podcast will be on Sunday morning, all right? And I'm pumped up for this one. Everybody, have a fantastic Friday. Thank you for joining us on this live. Drop a like before you take off. Drop some comments in there after the show on anything that we discuss or any more questions you have that we can maybe tackle in the green room. But, hey, back to business, okay? Bonucci thing, Pogba thing. It's always something with this team. It's been frustrating and whatnot, but, we got to get through this cleanup. We got to get through this cleanup. We've been through worse, okay? Nobody is more battle-tested than Juventini. I will stand behind that, okay? Nobody is more battle-tested than us. And again, I'm just looking forward to what's to come at the end of the season. I think this team has it. I think this team is strong enough to get the job done. Once these teams, which is happening very quick, start spreading out in competitions, I think we need to pounce and we could start doing some damage. But we have to get it right tomorrow against Lazio, and this will tell us a little bit more about where Juve is at. Let's see what Max does with the lineup. I still think we're going to get maybe a surprise in there, but let's see. Have a great weekend, everybody. Tomorrow, live watch along. Omer, thank you as always. Guys, absolute pleasure. Always, no matter what. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Players, coaches, come and go. But it's all about the club, baby. All right? Tomorrow, Lazio. Let's rock.
Yeah.